Inflation is a very serious subject. You can argue it's the way democracies die. So it's a huge danger once you've got a populace that learns it can vote itself money. If you look at the Roman Republic, they inflated the currency steadily for hundreds of years, and eventually the whole damn Roman Empire collapsed. So it's the biggest long-range danger we have, probably, apart from nuclear war. The safe assumption for an investor is that over the next 100 years, the currency is going to zero. That's my working hypothesis.
Just like Charlie Munger says, inflation is what causes economies to crash, and what often follows high inflation is a recession. Many of you likely heard that there's a recession incoming fast in 2023. There have been many stories in the past about how markets crashed, people were panic selling, and many people went bankrupt. It's certainly a scary time, but I'm going to share 8 easy ways to live below your means during the 2023 recession from the famous business mogul, investing genius, and partner to one of the greatest investors in the world, Charlie Munger. Number 8. Have enough income.
The biggest financial asset that you have going for you by miles is the value of your own earning power over the years. So that's really what you should focus on. If you're focusing on your financial future, that means you should focus on you. Because whether your 10% is worth $50,000 or $100,000 or $300,000, which would be $500,000 or $1 million or $3 million for all of you, whether it turns out to be one or the other is really dependent in a very large part on what you do in the next few years.
What's going on in the market, one of the most important things you can do for yourself is make sure you have a high earned income. It's pretty clear, but the more you earn, the more savings you can garner, and the more comfortable your life will be. Let's break it down. Imagine someone who's earning the average salary in America, which is $69,717. This is a pretty good number. However, in tight financial times, this might not even be enough to sustain some of the lifestyles people have. Continuing on, let's say this person spends about 85% of their income yearly when financial times are good. This leaves enough room to save about 15%. But what happens if inflation starts roaring and things get much more expensive, like during a recession? Then the percentage of income spent will likely go beyond 90% and maybe even beyond 100%, depending on the situation. Now let's imagine that person decided to take measures to protect themselves against this possible scenario. Instead, the person developed a side hustle by selling beautiful embroidery on an Etsy store that they made themselves online. The store brings something like $1,200 on average, which bumps up their yearly salary by $14,400. Suddenly, they're no longer struggling to make ends meet and save enough because they now make over $84,000 per year. Chances are that many people don't know how to embroider, but they still want to find ways to make extra money. Fortunately, there are a ton of ways. Firstly, there's no need on what services you can sell regarding your skills. Are you a good writer? Then consider freelance. Or maybe you're an expert when it comes to making hot sauce. Then you can sell your sauces at a farmer's market near you. You can also aim for a promotion or a raise within your current job if the situations are right. If none of these work, then you can consider learning new skills through places like Udemy, making yourself more valuable and giving you an extra pathway to making money. Number 7. Wait for sales.
The reason that I invested in China is I could get so much better companies at so much lower prices, and I was willing to take a little political risk.
While Munger strictly talks about buying stocks and businesses here, the message remains the same. If you have to buy a product, then make sure you buy it on sale. Of course, this is highly dependent on what you're buying. For example, we all need to eat frequently, so we can't always buy the food we want in a sale. However, even during a recession, we're going to buy things that we probably don't need. It's in those items that you want to make sure you get the best price possible. For example, let's say that your child's birthday is coming up and they want a Nintendo Switch console. Now, these are normally quite expensive, but your kid's birthday happens to be very close to Black Friday. So, waiting until the Black Friday sale to pop up and buying the console for him is just a win-win situation, as you'll get the item at a discounted price. When it comes to things like groceries, always look for the best price for items, and don't be afraid to buy in bulk when a really good sale comes. As for clothes, the clearance section should be your best friend, and otherwise, you can shop at thrift stores where everything is basically a sale item. Number 6. Plan your purchases. You can't accomplish much without a plan. Better yet, you won't be able to consistently accomplish anything without having a plan. How do you think Charlie Munger became the person he is today? Do you think he just managed to succeed on a whim, or is it because he took calculated measures and choices to get where he is? Of course, the more you plan, the more you learn. And the more you organize how you want to do things, the more likely you are to get exactly what you want. The recession is a painful time for many people, so planning really does go a long way here, especially when it comes to the bigger purchases. Anytime you know that a bigger purchase comes up, start preparing for it. Ask questions like, how soon do I need this item? How much do I need to save every month so I can buy this item without breaking my budget? Are there cheaper alternatives for the same item? Questions like these and more can ensure you make the best choices. Of course, there's lots of planning that go into your savings and finances as well, but keep watching because we'll get into that later in the video. Number 5. Pay with cash or debit. Both Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett are big advocates of using cash instead of taking loans. This is especially the case during a recession when the interest on loans is absolutely massive. For instance, you may have started with a low interest rate on a line of credit at 4%, but now it costs upwards of 8%. While it's still better than a Visa, it's a massive number. So the last thing you want to do is fall into debt, and the best way to do it is to only stick to cash and debit purchases. One of the best ways to do this is to avoid online buying as much as possible. There are 2 major benefits to this. The first is spending less money and not using your Visa. The second is that, by removing the convenience of online shopping, you'll end up spending less because you're unlikely to go out to the store to buy that same item. If you want to practice your haggling skills, then you can also consider asking businesses to give you a discount when you pay with cash, because businesses get charged a percentage of the payment every time someone pays with credit or debit. These are just a few benefits of paying with cash. And if you want to find more tips and tricks, subscribe to Investors Weekly. Number 4. Pay off your debt. Warren Buffett couldn't be more right, and we're sure that Charlie Munger agrees with him entirely. Let's think about what he said for a second. Essentially, paying off your debt is like a guaranteed 18% return on your money. This is almost an insurmountable peak when it comes to investing. This should be one of the main reasons why you really want to pay off your debt. Debt is expensive, as you're charged super high rates on it, so paying it off means you suddenly get all that money back, and no longer lose the money you earn in the future. For those who manage to pay off debt, there's no shortage of the joy felt at how much easier life is. It's certain to be the same for you when you manage to do so, but it's easier said than done, right? Well, surprisingly, it's actually pretty easy to pay off your debt if you use one of these 2 famous methods. The first is the avalanche method, which is to target your highest interest debt first and aggressively pay it off. Once you've paid that off, you move to the next until all your debts are paid off. The second method is the snowball method, which targets your smallest debt to pay back and focus on clearing it ASAP. The feeling of success by paying off your debt should snowball into other debts and make you feel better. Regardless of the method, paying off your debts is key. Number 3. Save before spending. Once you've paid off your debts, you'll want to start saving. Take a look at what Charlie says about saving here. It may seem funny, but there's a lot of weight to his words. Charlie Munger is one of the best investors in the world, and he grew up in a household where the importance of saving and budgeting was made very clear. For him to say that he can't help you if you don't know how to save speaks volumes. Essentially, he's saying that the root of his success and getting rich at all starts with saving. Some people may think that saving is a complex topic, but it's really not that difficult. When it comes down to it, all you need to do is start treating savings like it's a bill. In fact, when you look at it this way, you'll be inclined to start saving before you spend because it'll feel like a mandatory thing as opposed to a voluntary one. No one forces you to save, but people do force you to pay your bills on time. If you force yourself to save, then you'll find your savings will start growing very fast. It's likely this tip makes a lot of sense, but a big question is just how much should you save? A good starting point is anywhere between 10 to 15% of your income. So, whenever you get a paycheck, you'll want to immediately set aside 10 to 15% of it into savings. Of course, there's no real rule as to how much you should save. If you can save 30%, then do it. Whatever works best for you is the key to your happiness and success in the long run. Number 2, track your spending. It's hard to look at things objectively like Charlie Munger, but it's a skill that will take you a long way. I mean, look at what Warren said in the clip. He said that Munger looked deeper into businesses than the very people that own them. This is why Munger is such a successful investor. But how can we apply this foresight into our daily lives? Well, to be analytic and find out what works and what doesn't, you need to have statistics to look at. In this case, if you're looking to live below your means during a recession, a great place to start is to look at your spending. Start by tracking your spending over a month and see what things look like. How much is spent on groceries, gas, bills, and personal expenses? Are there some expenses that are too high and aren't sustainable? What are some things you can do to lower them so that they can be sustainable? You'll quickly realize that when you have an objective view of what you spend, it becomes much easier to figure out how to save money. Number 1, make a budget. Once you've figured out how to lower your expenses, a budget comes in. Both Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger are budgeting experts, as most of the financial analysis they do is on the budget of a business. Namely, what's their profit, their expense, and their current value versus what they should be valued at. Profit is like our income, and expenses are, well, like our expenses. The value can be related to your current trajectory if you stay on your current path. Unfortunately, budgeting can be both tough and time-consuming. So, make it easier on yourself by using a free budgeting app that you can find both online and on your phone. A great place to start is Mint. A good rule of thumb when it comes to organizing your budget is to use the 50-20-30 rule. That is, 50% of your income goes to bills and general expenses, 20% goes into savings, and 30% goes to personal purchases. Using this rule alone can already help you make massive strides to living below your means the Charlie Munger way. But what do you think? Are these easy ways to live below your means? Let us know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed the video, give it a like. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to get more content like this.